Hi everyone, I'm Alex with Glass Factory here with Savannah Alday from Innovo Management, and we're going to be discussing going from an intern to an employee in the music industry. So Savannah, to start out this conversation, could you tell me a bit about what inspired or drew you to a career in the music industry?
Yeah. So originally, I actually started out as an artist back home in Macon, Georgia. And I did that for about 10 years. Started at 8 years old. I was overzealous. I was like, singing is what I am going to do. It's what I eat, live, and breathe. And just started doing like little competitions in state. And then once I hit high school, I ended up having a band that kind of approached me and wanted me to be the lead singer. And so just did that, toured all throughout Georgia, got to open up for John Bellion and like B.O.B., Waka, Flocka, some significant names for like a grassroots, operation. So that's what drove me to Nashville and like going to Belmont and pursuing music. I was a commercial vocal major for like my first 3 years in college. And then I realized in that third year, I was like, wow, yeah, I'm never going to get a degree in this major. Like I was falling behind in piano and all that jazz. And I was like, I love to sing, but maybe the education portion is not meant for me. And I was growing to where I really preferred the business side of things as I was like doing my music business emphasis. And so I just decided to make the change over into making that my major. And in that first year, I decided I was going to get an internship because I felt like I needed to catch up since I just hadn't been focused on that. And landed at Innovo where I'm at now. And so, yeah, it was a natural progression, I think, into the music business.
Cool. So you said that you had bluegrass roots, but opened up for Waka Flocka. Can you explain that connection a little bit? Because I can't imagine a bluegrass opener for Waka, and I just need to hear more about this. How did
No,
that?
no. So when I say bluegrass operation, what I mean is like it was really down home. Like we were doing everything. I had like a momager. It was we were a country band, like country and southern rock, but it was like that from the roots, just like doing everything yourself,
Yeah.
very much like small town, trying to, make it on any kind of scene. But yeah, I mean, we had a local college, Mercer University, that was in Macon, and they're very much like Belmont, just not commercially driven at all, very classical. But they have, obviously the students that are like, yeah, we like classical, but we don't really want to go to a festival that's all classical music. So their campus kind of organized like a one day, what they call Bear Stock was their version of Woodstock. And they'd bring in just like some major acts and they would ask some local bands just to come and do like, lead on for them. And they decided to pick my band like for 2 years. And so it was pretty awesome.
That is amazing. What an opportunity.
Yeah, yeah. No, I was like, and the problem was it was like right before John like blew up with his first major album that like really went commercial. And so like my friends, because at that time all I was doing was listening to country, and like my friends were like, do you know who he is? And I was like, no, should I? So like, yeah. But no, it
Yeah,
was pretty
John
dope.
Bellion's awesome too. That was another one where I was like, okay, you're gonna have to explain that. But that's so cool that the university pushed you guys. Throughout that experience, did you feel like at home on stage, or did you always kind of know that you thought that behind the scenes was more of your thing?
No, I mean, for the longest time, I knew that I was going to be an artist. Like, that was truly everything that I wanted to do. Like, all I dreamed about was singing on stage. It wasn't until I had gotten into college and spent a few years in like the commercial program that I was like, I think I prefer the business side. I don't know. When you've been performing for 10 years, and as much as I love to perform, it was just kind of like I was getting burned out.
Hmm. Yeah.
No.
How how would you recommend for people to cope and move on from feeling burned out? Because I feel like especially even during these times, like people have either kind of taken a step back to look at things with a bigger perspective, or either just hit the ground running and doing a million things at once. So I feel like people now, after being at home just chill or working after a year, the people that have been working constantly are kind of reaching a burnout phase of do I keep going? Do I continue? So is there anything you'd recommend to people that need to just chill for a minute to keep going
Yeah, and
and not just give up?
definitely. Yeah, I mean, and it's hard not to, because I mean, being a musician in COVID, I applaud anybody who's continued their artistry. Like, I truly probably would have ended mine at the beginning of COVID or like early on, just because it's like, yeah, how do you not get burned out when you're sitting in your house every day? Even if you're writing and putting out music, it's just not the same. But I don't know. I think the best thing that I found for myself was like a lot of soul searching and just coming to grips with it's like you're not losing a part of you, you're just reshaping what that part is. So it was like, I'm not losing my music in any way, and I can always come back to artistry. This is just a pivot point for me to continue to at least work in the creative that I, enjoy and I've spent my life doing, which is working in music. So I think it's just you've got to put yourself in the right mind frame to say like nothing is forever, and I might just be pivoting to get through a really tough moment, which is fair. And I think it shows a lot of strength in that person to be able to do that.
I totally agree. I think that a lot of people I've been talking to lately creatively have definitely been able to like pick up a part-time job or something, and they don't like feel that proud about it, but it's like, no, you're still taking care of yourself. And also, if you have yourself taken care of, you can do way more. So I feel like even transitioning into more temporary arrangements at the moment should kind of be more celebrated by the community instead of seen as like, oh my God, I'm giving up, blah, blah, blah. Because if you don't have yourself taken care of, then there's nothing to give up because you're gone.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that is so well said. I look more down on people who just are being spoon fed. And I say look down, I don't want that to come off negatively, but like being spoon fed in their life, they've just been privileged that they don't have to make those decisions. You're very fortunate if you don't have to pick up a part-time job or pick up a full-time job to support yourself. I mean, absolutely. I think artists that are making that decision, or even people in the business who've found it tough and without a job within the business that are picking up work to just continue moving in life. I mean, absolutely. That's what you have to do.
Yeah, totally. I definitely think there's an interesting gap too, within the community with kind of what you tapped in on, with people not really like being as aware of privilege just because they don't like have to face these hardships, and the artists that are just like making it look easy, you know what I mean? Like they've got 3 jobs, but they still have time to make a home studio so that they can cut out those costs of recording studio. And what would you say is something that you admire most from artists like that?
The drive, absolutely the drive, and their willingness to just continually be tired. I mean, because that life is exhausting. Even working a full-time job, and trying to do artistry can be exhausting, but the idea of doing 3 jobs to fund yourself on top of doing home studios and recording and booking sessions. I mean, yeah, it's the drive and the hunger. And it just shows that that person's truly passionate, because I don't really see passion in somebody being handed things. I see passion in somebody being willing to do that, just truly going through their days exhausted for their art.
So when you're considering clients as an artist manager, then do you think, are you more appealed to the people with the drive or the time?
That's a great question.
Because I feel like there's like a lot of good and bads on either sides.
Absolutely. I think I probably am more about the person with the drive, because you can always make the time.
Yeah.
I think that you can have all the time in the world, but you just sit around and you don't really put to use that time. If like I have all the time in the day and I don't really have a job or something that's taking up that time, well, gosh, then I better be booking 3 writes every day or 2 writes and a studio session every day, So I think I'd take somebody with the drive, because they're going to be able to do all the work that it's going to take if you actually do reach any amount of success, and somebody who doesn't have drive, you're never going to be able to teach that to them.
Yep, exactly. That's what I was thinking. Like my follow-up comment would be like, you can't teach somebody drive. You have to either have it and want it, or you, like you said, you can't make somebody want something. And that I think is like a very thin line in the industry too, because people can have all the talent that they want and say all these things, but then if they're not leading the drive of their team, that's a huge problem, like for management and trickling down, because like the artist is the leading face of like kind of like the train on the tracks, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
with that, when you were going a little bit back into your history again with transitioning from an intern to an employee, what would you say is one of the things that might have intimidated or scared you most in going from artist to business aspect? Because I feel like music business is kind of a generally intimidating area, which maybe you felt comfortable with it because of your background, but I'd love to hear more about how you felt preparing to set up your first steps.
Yeah, no, I would definitely say it was intimidating. It was daunting. And, I think you can have a lot of part-time jobs, but if you're going into an internship with a field that you are passionate about, it's always daunting because you want to do a great job and hopefully gain some necessary skills. I think the most daunting part was just the unknown of the atmosphere, because every business is different. Every internship is completely different. And, if you've had plenty of jobs, every boss is different. So, just not knowing, especially going to Belmont where they're really intense and they kind of prepare you for this life of a lot of competition. Everybody's going to be really cutthroat. So, there was just a lot of hesitation of it's like, oh gosh, am I going to get there? And everybody is just silent in the office. And it's like, if you're, looking up at any point, then you're not working and giving your all. And like, yeah, I think it was truly the unknown that was the most intimidating.
What's something that brought you comfort when dealing with the unknown?
I think just leaning on my past experience of knowing that I've done a lot of things in my life that I did not know the outcome or what the situation would be like. And you can pull that from any part of your life, whether that be you started a new school or new job, anything. And knowing that I made it through that, so I can make it through this.
I love the confidence. That's like so radiant.
Look, fake it till we make it. Just
Preach, but also I think a big difference between the people where like fake it till you make it as in con man versus like making it is when you actually have the other half of drive under the fake it. Because like, for example, look at all the people that'll like fake a pass or something just to get in that photo pit, just to have that opportunity because they don't know what they're doing, and looking for a way into that like they definitely had the perfect amount of scheme and skill put together in one. Because I've definitely personally seen that happen so many times where somebody does something like that and then hey, it works out for them because that one experience gave them like the gateway to understanding, like, okay, this is what I need to do. I just met this person. And it's a crazy line because I'm sure on the management side, you're like, I don't want random people back here. That's why we have the tickets and the blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, that one person that's like the person you want back there, you're like, oh, okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, no, I mean, I think that's it. The drive underneath, you'll learn anything and you won't be faking it for long.
Totally. So then I believe you said earlier that your first internship was with Innovo. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it was.
Cool. So I feel like that's pretty untraditional. I guess it depends on the person and how much time they spent looking into the positions that they're applying for. But what was your first internship like with them? How was your experience as an intern?
Yeah. And I would say that's probably really untraditional. To like be working where you had your first internship. I think it just was a lucky thing for me. Fell into the right place at the right time, but it was good. I mean, they're definitely a relaxed group of people, so it was a wonderful start. I did mostly a lot of Spotify streaming and helping one of my coworkers with just some playlisting and kind of the basics. It was really, I would say, a lot of monotonous work to begin with. Sam will be like, oh, really appreciate that. But it was just, monotonous internship work because they can't trust you as an intern to take on some real stuff because who knows, you may screw it up. They don't know who you are. But yeah, I mean, it it was just the basics. I didn't really think I was doing anything mind-blowing, but it was definitely new skills and things that I didn't know about before. So yeah, it was a good learning experience.
So sorry, let me think of how to word this question quick. For someone looking to get their first internship, how much time would you recommend spend researching companies? Are there any websites that were particularly a tool to you in finding a good company to work at? Because I feel like one of the most intimidating things about approaching the music industry is all the horror stories, and people that want to pursue it are like, well, I don't know how to find out if it's a good company or not. So how were you able to like set your eyes on Innovo and be like, I really like these guys, and the experience matched the appearance?
Yeah. So I think everybody's kind of different. It just, one, you know, if you are sure about what you want to do in the industry, obviously look for internships that are closest to what you want to do or might be in a realm of skills that you need to eventually get to that dream job. For me, I was really wide open. I was like, whoever at this point is willing to take me on, I need to get an internship. I need to do something. I used Handshake. I'd highly recommend LinkedIn, or, you know, can look at Indeed, Glassdoor, Handshake if you're part of one of the schools that uses that. They do a little bit of filtering, but I've even found on that they don't do that great of filtering. I've had interviews before with companies from Handshake that were kind of shisty. And I can say too, like, you can do the most research. I think anywhere that you apply, if you're like, I like what the internship requirements have to say, like, I think I'd like to do an internship in marketing for this music company, you know, obviously check their website out. I do a little LinkedIn searching, try to find people at the company and just, you know, see what their profiles look like. But to be honest, I think the biggest indicator will be if you get that interview and you can meet them in person. I know with COVID, obviously you can meet them over Zoom, but I think that one-on-one will give you the best feeling, because that's what it was for me with Innovo. I had done a few interviews for that first internship, and I had met with Leah, who I was interning under at Innovo. Yes,
I had a
adore
class with
Leah.
her at Belmont.
Oh, yes. Oh, my gosh, I wish. She was before my time, but she was a wonderful person to internship
I was
with.
actually with her and Ian, and we were in a speech class together. And I remember them being so supportive. We had like an awesome little section of the class that was just so supportive. And I just always remember them being like also radiant people. So I'm not surprised that you fit right in with them.
Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah, no, I mean, they're great people.
Keep going.
No, you're good. You're good. But yeah, Ian had just come into the office today and he had said the same thing. He's like, oh no, we had a speech class together. I was like, precious. But yeah, no, I think it's truly that one-on-one. You'll know. When I met with Leah, I could make her laugh. That's always like how I know it'll be a good time. I'm like, if you can't laugh at a joke, even in an interview, I think it's a little bit too serious for me. I'm like, I'm a very serious person, but at some point, you know, we got to have a good time. So she had asked me a question like, how would your friends describe you in 3 words? Because she was just pulling for interview questions. She was like, I've asked everything I need. And I think I said like, the accent's funny, because I have a thicker accent. And so I kind of threw that out there, and she cackled, and I knew from then on, I was like, yeah, I think I want to intern here. I was like, I think whatever they have me do, I think I could fit in really well.
Cool. I love that. That seems like a very like a natural vibe, because I do think it's so important to maintain a level of professionalism in any area. But I think it's important to kind of like remind yourself and others that, hey, even though we're working with music, like the most awesome thing in the world, it's a job. So you have to wake up, you have to make your appointments, even if you aren't on like a regular schedule, that's fine as long as you're on a schedule, you know, like consistently showing up, meeting people, making your demos, all that. So yeah. I totally agree with you that even though you have to be really professional, it is a really fun product to work with. So you have to have some sense of like life to you, because then I feel like that's very transparent in what you put out, especially with Innovo. All the artists are so lively. Like there's Sam, there's Danny, there's Dakota, and they all have such a presence about them, even that's transparent through social media. And I feel like that would be damped for the artist if the management team didn't also reflect those principles.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think too, we just have to remember, like, it is so dull to work in a workspace. Like, no matter where you go, a 9 to 5 is tough. And so just keeping it human and having an ability to have a good time, absolutely be professional, understand that it is your job. You have deadlines, things need to happen, but you can have a good time while you're doing it, you know?
Totally. So then the last question I have written down, but I would love to continue the conversation further should we have more to say, heads up, is how did you decide once you had reached Innovo that you wanted to go from intern to employee, and what did you recognize you had to do to make that goal happen?
Yeah. I knew that I wanted to work in the industry. I couldn't say that I was specifically like, Innovo is the place, just because I had such the realistic side of me that was like, the reality that you might work here is probably not going to happen. But the forces at will said differently. Sam invited me on a retreat they were having because one of the employees decided she didn't want to go. And he was like, I'm just going to throw this out as a long shot. Would you like to come with us on a retreat? And I was like, yeah, I mean, why not? You know, have a little fun with the crew, see everybody in their regular selves. And from then is where he offered me the job. We were just hanging out, and he was like, you know, I really think that you do well here, and you know, I want to continue to have you on board. But I can't say for me that it was like this was the company for me. But when he offered it to me, I was like, I don't see myself anywhere else. I even continued to have internships when I was contracted with them in the beginning, which I think helped me realize as I got into the summer, because I had done contract work from December to June, and then June they offered me a full-time position. And I think it was during those other internships that I realized that Innovo was like the place for me.
Yeah.
But I'd say for anybody that is looking to try and get employed by their internship, you know, one, see if that's an option, if they have room for growth at that time. Is the company in a good place where they could allow that to happen? And that's just going to take you, you know, getting to know your employees, your employer, and talking to them and being real and saying, you know, I really enjoy working here. I think also too, there's a little bit of like, you've got to really prove, you kind of got to go above and beyond. And there's a little bit of time investment past the credits of your class hours that you've just got to put in to really show them that it's like, I want to be here, I want to work here.
How would you say that you were able to prove that to them? Like, was it meeting quick deadlines? Was it spending how much time extra? When would you say it would be too much that somebody's burning out, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, the burning out question, that is so good, because it's easy to do. And I've had a few of those moments, but you just got to find the will somewhere to keep rolling with it. I think what showed them that they wanted to keep me on longer was during that contract time, I was only contracted to do social media. And when they asked me about that, because Sam had said, I want to bring you on contract. Would you want to do social media? And I was really brutally honest. I told him, I said, I really don't have any interest in social media, but if that's what you need and that's the position that's available, I'll do it. I'll learn it. And so that's what I did. I mean, I truly was not a social media person. My page, go to my Instagram, you'll see, kind of trash. Not a lot of effort behind it. And I didn't know like the hashtag things. I knew that mattered, but just didn't know the behind the scenes helping to boost posts. But I was willing to take that on, even though I was like, this is not of any interest to me, no matter what field I work in. But it was that willingness to do it, and then also just like go far and beyond with it. I put myself on a schedule. I was like, okay, he doesn't really care how many times I post, but I do. I want to make it where I post 3 to 6 stories every other day. And I want to have at least 2 to 3 posts on main feed that I'm doing each week. And I was doing that while in classes. So I'd be in classes posting on our Instagram because it just worked for our algorithm. And I think that it was that that above knowing that I'm sitting in class and I'm doing this for them was what showed them I was willing to take those next steps and would be, I think, decent enough to go into a full-time position. But
Yeah, I think that having flexibility is really important because, of course, it's hard when you're a student with an internship too, because you are balancing being in class with a music industry internship,
yeah,
which that can be so overwhelming because I know exactly what you're talking about with working on your internship in class because I started Glass actually from the classroom, and every other
yeah,
day all my classmates knew that I probably wasn't being social because I had something to do because I was in my computer just not talking to anyone because I
absolutely.
am like 51% extrovert and 49% introvert. That's what every personality test says, right? So I'd either be like completely involved with like everyone around me, as I said, like with Leah and Ian, and just like, oh my God, I love you guys. Everything's amazing. Or like, nobody talk to me. I am strictly in computer world. And I feel like
Yeah,
knowing your own limits is really important for that because your limit is like where your burnout mark is. You know what I mean? And that's different
absolutely.
for everyone. So I think it's definitely important to like schedule self-care too throughout
Absolutely.
internships because you'll have periods that are so busy and then periods that are slower. And I think that those times where it's slower is a good moment to schedule self-care. With that, um do you regret doing the social media or would you have done it again?
Oh, I'd absolutely do it again. I think it's been a huge, absolutely. I think it's been such a vital part for me moving forward. I mean, starting managing Dakota, I mean, that was one of the first things that we were focused on was how to start moving numbers on her social media and getting people interested in what she was doing on her pages. And especially now with TikTok, like the fact that I had Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, all those kind of social medias under my belt and having a better understanding. When this new platform came around, I was like, yeah, I get it. It's different, but it's the same.
Mhm.
So yeah, no, I totally don't regret that. I don't regret like doing anything during my classes. I won't lie. I was not a kid who liked school. And so I was like, please let me do anything else except, common law. Like, I don't, yeah, my classes for me, I was like, if I get to tune it out to just sit here and make a graphic, love it.
So to end the conversation, if you could give a younger version of yourself one piece of advice, what would that be?
Have patience with yourself. You are doing amazing. You are, you know, a young female in a really male dominated industry, and it can be cutthroat. It can be competitive. People will make you feel like what you're doing is not enough, but recognize what you do is enough.
I think that's an awesome message for us to leave this call on. I'd love to say thank you for joining us. It's been amazing to talk with you, and I'd love for you to say like a wrap up message as well to conclude it, and then I'll say like an actual goodbye to you.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Alexandra, for having me on. I really do appreciate it. This has been awesome. And yeah, no, I mean, whatever you want to do, just pursue it with all you've got, keep driving. I'm sorry, I'm not really great with the wrap up, like little speeches, but yeah, no, I mean, and be flexible and be willing to change and know that, one dream can end and a new one can start.